Siesta Key has often been ranked as the best beach in America. Known for its soft white sand that never gets too hot underneath the sizzling Florida sun, and also known for the clear blue tint of the water. Even though red tide was in action when I was able to get these drone shots. Usually you can expect the water to look like this, or like this, which was taken a year prior at Lido Key, just north of here. Oh, and you get the sunset on this side of Florida too, which is a plus for many people. Regardless, Siesta Key is definitely worth a visit if you're ever able to come down to the Sarasota area. Throughout this video, we're going to be seeing the community, that is, Siesta Key, not so much the beach. And along the way, I'll tell you more about what it's like to both live here and visit. And at the end of this video, I'll be giving a Chris Livability score to Siesta Key, which grades places on the quality of life through various categories, so make sure to stay tuned until the end for that. I begin the video in Sarasota just east of the Siesta Key North Bridge, which connects the mainland to the barrier island that is Siesta Key. The city limits of Sarasota stretch out into the island for just a little bit before we officially enter the CDP of Siesta Key. If you've seen my other videos on the area, you've heard me say how Sarasota is one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country. Soon, the Sarasota and Bradenton metro area will be home to over 1 million people. And for all of my Midwestern subscribers, that's about equal to the population of the Grand Rapids metro area, or Rochester, New York, or Louisville, Kentucky. The growth isn't going to be slowing down here anytime soon either, with the word being spread today now more than ever before of not only Siesta Key's fine white sand beaches, but many of the other beaches in the area as well, such as Lido Key and Anna Maria Island. It also helps that Florida doesn't have a state income tax. However, even with that, the cost of living in the Sarasota and Bradenton area has been climbing, kinda under the radar, with the increased demand of people wanting to live here. The high rate of retirees moving to Florida has been higher too, given the fact that all the boomers have been reaching that phase of their life. But what really happens is that when people start coming here on vacation and discovering the area, they fall in love with the place. But then it's time to go back home, and when they get back, they all start crowding up their local U-Haul rental store, and they'll stand there and wait in line for the next available truck, and sometimes the line will be all the way out the door and wrapped around the building. It'll kind of look like a group of baby daddies at a plasma donation center trying to make their next child support payment. Alright, look, I'm not making fun of everyone who wants to move here. Alright, maybe I am, but in that case, I'm also making fun of myself. I mean, I live in Michigan and I'm one of the very few Midwesterners, let alone Americans, who actually love where they live. It seems like everybody is always complaining about where they live and they have the biggest gripes about where they live. But the older I get, my biggest gripe about Michigan is the long winters. And I'm kind of starting to dread them, to be honest. But maybe I'll just start being a permanent snowbird and be hated by all the locals, which, by the way, that would be an equal trade-off, because anytime I see a Florida license plate in Michigan or anywhere else in the Midwest for that matter, it's like waiting for an accident to happen. People from Florida, for whatever reason, just can't drive. Anyway, back to my original point, which is that more and more people are looking to not only escape dealing with the winters of the Great White North, but the newest trend is that people are looking to move out of high-tax states, such as California, New York, and Illinois, in which Florida is a much more affordable state to live in than the three that I mentioned, although we'll see how long that lasts. I also think that a small part of the deal is that it's becoming more and more expensive to have a second home cross-country, as I feel like it was a lot more common for prior generations to have a vacation condo in their favorite spot, whereas nowadays, they'd rather just live at their vacation condo year-round. But that's just a theory, as I haven't done any research on it. But anyway, it's actually not too hot during the summer in Florida, as long as you're close to the beach. Now, if you're in Orlando, it's a different story. Yeah, no thanks. However, with so many people moving here, the cost of living is not as affordable as it used to be maybe 10 years ago, and I feel like that's just going to keep going up. So we'll have to see how long this growth bubble lasts. Alright, well, we're not quite yet in the CDP that is Siesta Key, so just hold on a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Now we're here. Well, first I'll talk about the history of the island, as the first modern settlers started living on the island in the 1880s. At that point, it was called Sarasota Key. The first permanent residents are credited to being Captain Lewis Roberts and his wife Ocean Hanson Roberts. In 1906, they turned their home into what was called the Roberts Hotel. The following year, Captain Roberts teamed up with Harry Heigl and E.M. Arbogast to form the Siesta Land Company. And that's how Siesta Key received its name, even though it wasn't officially recognized as Siesta Key until 1952. Harry Heigl is credited with designing the island. He also did the hard work of dredging canals on the island and filling in some of the low-lying land areas to make the island more inhabitable. Heigl was the mayor of Sarasota at the time. He invested a lot of money on an advertising campaign for the island to help make it a popular tourist destination. In 1914, the Heiglhurst Hotel was built on Siesta Key, and in 1917, the first bridge to the mainland was completed, all thanks to Heigl. The second bridge, being the Stickney Point Bridge, which is further south, wasn't completed until 1926, but at that time the Great Depression hit and development of the island slowed down quite a bit. However, things picked back up again in the late 1940s, and most of the development on the island was full of cottages. But as Florida became a more and more popular place to visit over the years, the beachside cottages turned into high-rises and hotels throughout the 80s and 90s. I'll talk about more history and facts about the island later on, as now we're going to go into the economic stats. Here you can see the population history for Siesta Key. Since 1990, there's been a continuous decrease in permanent population. That's quite the different story from what we see with Sarasota County as a whole, as the population here has been skyrocketing, just like it has with Manatee County to the north. However, when you visit the island, you wouldn't be able to tell that Siesta Key has lost around 2,000 residents since 1990. We saw the same type of thing in a prior video I made with the communities on Anna Maria Island further north. Some of the reasons as to why the permanent population has declined could be that the insurance rates have been climbing through the roof for many Florida residents, especially for the ones who live right along the coast. Also, a lot of the homes have been bought by investors and are being used as vacation rentals with the recent rise in popularity of Airbnb. With that said, Siesta Key is an unincorporated part of Sarasota County, as it's technically a census-designated place. There's been talks over the years of making Siesta Key its own city, but it's never happened. Today, Siesta Key is home to 5,400 people, and the median household income is $108,000 per year. 63% of adults 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher, and the median value of owner-occupied housing units is $764,000, while the poverty rate is 3.3%. These numbers aren't surprising at all given the popularity of Siesta Key, as you definitely have to have some cash if you're going to be able to live on the island. We're now starting to enter the stretch of Ocean Boulevard that has a bunch of shops and restaurants. Technically, this is referred to as Siesta Key Village, as the community's downtown area, with Ocean Boulevard being the main street. And by the way, Ocean Boulevard is not named Ocean because it's by the Gulf of Mexico, resembling an ocean or whatever, but rather it's named Ocean because that was the name of Captain Roberts' wife, as they were the first settlers on the island. Well, anyway, when it comes to the crime rates, both the violent and property crime rates are extremely low, so life is all good and dandy here. Feel free to leave your roof off of your Jeep and all of your doors off, and you can even leave the keys on the front seat. Nobody will take your ride. I mean, I still wouldn't do that, but you get the point. Siesta Key's crime rate mimics those of other islands that I've made videos on further north, such as Longboat Key and Anna Maria Island, and that makes the beach communities of Sarasota and Manatee County as one of the safer travel destinations inside the U.S. that we see today. Now, I haven't been everywhere yet, but I've been to a couple of popular tourist spots over the last few years, and I vaguely remember on my trip to Honolulu that one of the first things I saw when leaving the hotel and walking towards the beach was some drugged-out dude screaming racial slurs at nobody in particular, just screaming for no reason. And another spot I went to was New Orleans, and everywhere you go in the French Quarter, some random bum is going to come up to you and offer you some drugs or some kind of other beverage or product, and I'll just say that they don't like being told no. Some of them won't stop bothering you for minutes straight, which will seem like an hour, so yeah, no thanks. Point is, I didn't see any of that stuff here, and I've spent some time at most of the beaches from Clearwater all the way down to Siesta Key, which is about a 60-mile stretch. Now, there's plenty of nice places to eat along Siesta Key's little Main Street area here, and it's not a long walk at all from here to the beach. However, it might be a challenge to find a parking spot. With that said, there are several free parking spots that are spread throughout the island, and once you find one of those, you can then hop on a trolley that will take you wherever it is that you're trying to go on Siesta Key. But whenever you find your way to the area that I'm in right now, this area is within walking distance to a pretty large public beach. Now, I didn't get much footage of the beach while I was here, but I was able to capture some. I guess people leave watermelons on the beach here at Siesta Key. But it is beautiful. Now, yeah, that was terrible audio from that clip, but this was shot from my awesome quality cell phone back in April of 2022, whereas this was shot in March of 23. Same beach, same spot, it's just that there was a strong red tide when I came in the second time. Now, red tide is a phenomenon that occurs at least once a year, usually any time from July to December, so it was kind of strange that it happened in March. Unfortunately for the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida, red tide is most common in this state from Clearwater to Sanibel. Whenever red tide happens, not only does it give off a nasty dead fish smell anywhere that's in close proximity to the water, but it can be bad for humans not only to swim in it, but also to breathe it in. Red tide is made up of harmful algae that builds up over the summer months, and given the right conditions in the water, this algae can bloom out of control, which then creates red tide. The phenomenon can cause massive fish kills, which then you'll see dead fish wash up along the shore, hence the strong dead fish smell. It can irritate people with underlying respiratory problems and even the healthiest of healthy people. I remember when I visited, I was coughing before I even smelled the dead fish. This was when we were in the car driving up towards the beach. I heard so many people hacking, it was like an elementary school classroom, only much larger. So red tide is just something to look out for if you're visiting this area of Florida on your next vacation. And while we're still here, a lot of people wonder how Siesta Key has such a perfect texture of white sand, and people will wonder where it comes from. Sometimes people think it's the local government that puts the sand here to make it this way, but no, it's all natural. People like the white sand because it stays cool underneath the hot sun, it packs well, making for good sand castles, and not all sand at all beaches are like that. Sometimes you can walk on a beach on a hot summer day and it'll burn your feet, but not here. But scientists say that the reason why the sand is this way is because it has quartz that originally came from the southern Appalachian Mountains via rivers to the Gulf of Mexico, and it washed up on the beach over time. Now, me personally, I don't understand how all of that happened, but I believe what the scientists say. So that's as far as I can go there. Now we're back to where we were for the driving portion of this video along Ocean Boulevard in the little downtown area for Siesta Key. Well, hey, if you've been to Siesta Key, let me know down in the comments what your experience was like. Personally, I really liked the entire area from Siesta Key all the way up to Anna Maria Island. Unfortunately, the second time that I visited the area, the red tide kind of took over the enjoyment of the beach. But the first time, it was great. Now, the last thing that I want to point out would be that in 2021, Siesta Key saw a record number of tourists, with 117.7 million domestic travelers visiting the Key. That's insane. There was an additional 300,000 or so that came from Canada. Siesta Key has never had a higher number of visitors. Now, this next number will blow you away, but it's calculated for all of Sarasota County, not just Siesta Key, even though Siesta Key is a huge part of it. Anyway, the experts say that a total of $2.24 billion have been made in all of Sarasota County in terms of total economic impact. That includes the spending from households and businesses as a result of tourism dollars. There's more than $1.35 billion in revenue that the county sees per year as a result of tourists spending money at hotels, restaurants, and other amenities. Additionally, there's an estimated 19,000 jobs in Sarasota County's tourism industry. That's more employees than what several well-known companies have nationally, including Dick's Sporting Goods, Levi Strauss, DoorDash, and even my former employer. Well, once again, towards the end of the video, I'll be giving Siesta Key a Chris livability score, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But until then, we're going to see some other parts of Siesta Key. We've already seen the main downtown area after entering the island from the North Bridge, and now we're going to see some of the single-family residential area before heading back to the southern end of Siesta Key, which is littered with high-rises and hotels. Alright, so now that we have seen pretty much the entire island, it's time to say this. You can't always trust the electric company's word after a storm, and you can't always trust the bacteria levels in the Gulf of Mexico in March, but you can always trust Chris's livability score. When it comes to the education, there aren't really any schools on Siesta Key, but there doesn't need to be any, as it's a retirement community and a vacation community. All but one school in the area is found east on the mainland. It's not like the schools in Sarasota County are a joke, so we'll stay neutral and education gets a 10 out of 20. Crime in Siesta Key is a non-factor, it gets a 19 out of 20. I thought that downtown Siesta Key is what it should have been. Very pedestrian friendly, plenty of shops and restaurants to choose from, plus a close walk to the public beach, it gets a 15 out of 20. Next up is the economy. And if you've seen some of my prior videos, the economy is stronger in Sarasota than it is in Bradenton. There's more jobs in more fields, such as healthcare and other companies, that have a presence in Sarasota, such as PGT Innovations. Tervis is south of here in Venice Beach. There's a Helios Technologies and a few other companies that you probably haven't heard of. Plus, Siesta Key sees way more visitors than Anna Maria Island to the north, but outside of tourism, it's mostly unimpressive. The economy gets a 13 out of 20. Recreational opportunities are plenty for everyone who loves water. It gets an 18 out of 20. The history of Siesta Key didn't have too many interesting things to speak of. Unlike Lido Key to the north, which was designed and developed by a clown who bought his elephants in to help build the first bridge, Siesta Key gets a 7 out of 20 on the history. The next category is amenities, and there are plenty of things to go do and see to enjoy yourself for an entire week on Siesta Key and never get bored. Amenities gets a 17 out of 20. The cost of living on Siesta Key is out of this world, so just like with Anna Maria Island to the north, it gets a big fat 0 out of 20. All in all, the Chris livability score for Siesta Key, Florida is 99 out of 160, and it places right in the middle of all of the cities that I've done a Chris livability score for so far. With that said, I do end the video here, and do me a favor, as if you enjoyed this video, it would be a huge help to me since content creation is my full-time job, if you hit that like button, left a comment, and subscribed if you haven't already, because doing all of those things helps these videos destroy the evil monster that is the YouTube algorithm, and it helps this video get seen by more people who do a search for Siesta Key. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell and select yes, so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy checking out some of the featured playlists on this channel. Videos with amazing insights on other places like what you saw here can be found in my Florida playlist, my Bradenton Sarasota playlist, my Gulf Coast playlist, or in my Tourist Towns playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. We'll see you next time. Peace.